Hi there. My name is Joyce Campbell, and I'm here to talk to you today on the topic of immigrants. I'll give a little bit of a history from the early beginnings of the United States until now. But first, let's start off with the definition of what or who an immigrant is. The Oxford Dictionaries indicates that simply an immigrant is a person who comes to live permanently in a foreign country. There are a couple of synonyms here that I found interesting. There's the newcomer, settler, non native, foreigner, alien, or outsider. Okay? And those are appropriate to that term. Now, beginning in the 1600s, the earliest immigrant to the New World were actually the colonists. They came in and settled in the New World and brought their families. Initially, there were a lot of single men, but later on, there were families and they came to gain land and start a new life for themselves and better conditions for their families and such. In the 1700s, unfortunately, we had some involuntary immigrants in the form of Africans who were captured and sold as slaves to work on farms and plantations and such in America. Then we had mid 1700s to 1800s. We had a major pool of immigrants who came in across through Ellis Island up north. They came in on the boats in droves, droves, looking for better opportunities and whatnot. The pull of America to immigrants was such that there was the possibilities here for a new life, a better life for themselves, their families, and such that they didn't have in the countries that they were living in. Okay? Now we're going to move on from there with those same job opportunities and such. We have some Chinese, major players in building America's railroads and during the California gold rush and such, because they came with a specialized skill set that was not common for Americans that live here. Okay, so they brought that skill set and grew. Also, when going back to talking about the immigrants who came across through Ellis Island and such, a lot of them ended up working in America's plants, manufacturing plants, factories, and mines. And a big issue with that was the conditions that they worked under and the very low pay. Speaking of that low pay, that was one of the major things. It still is with immigrants nowadays, whether they're depending on their status, I would say, because immigrants will typically, depending on their situation, take jobs that have extremely low pay that others living here will not. There's domestic workers. A large amount of those jobs are taken care of by immigrants. There's farm workers in the agricultural industry. Again, majorly comprised of immigrant workers. The 2016 United States Census indicated that at that date, that point in time, 2016, they recorded approximately 44 million, 44 million immigrants living in the United States. Okay? Now, there's a site, balancepolitics.org, that did a survey and listed some of the pros and cons with regard to the immigrants in the United States, in the US. One of the cons was with the job market being such and jobs being hard to come by for some in these rough economic times, that the immigrants coming and taking and filling those jobs made it difficult for natural US citizens here. And that there's also other risks involved with taking in immigrant situations that are not controlled. Another a pro is that by the same token, getting that large group coming in and willing to work and having different skill sets and being contributors, depending on the situation, is a plus. for our economy and a boost. Now, I'd like to, in closing, address, provide a quote from our President Barack Obama, but former President Barack Obama. He says, "We are a nation of immigrants. Unless we were one of the first Americans, that being the Native Americans, all of us come from someone who came from someplace else, whether it be the Mayflower, whether it was on a slave ship, whether it was coming through Ellis Island, or via the Rio Grande." Something to think about. Thank you so much for listening, and you have a great day.